So before we dive deep into this conversation, I want to read this comment to you guys. I'm at PGF. I'm assuming he meant PFG, Performance Food Group. It's a food service company for those of you that may not be familiar. Making 100K with the minimum daily rate, and it's not worth it for me. I'm effing miserable. First and foremost, man, let me just say I appreciate the comment. This is what I say all the time when I make videos about certain comments that really pique my interest. This is a topic that I think is worth talking about because there are a lot of people in similar situations where they're working jobs that they just hate and it's making them miserable. Food service in particular. I'm in food service, so I know the type of job that he has. Here's the thing about food service. It is a very physically demanding job. It is a tough job. It is very tough on the body. A lot of wear and tear involved. There are also things about food service that makes the job more frustrating than it has to be. For example, you have issues with getting your trailer late, which can trickle down to you starting your route late, which will then put you behind for the rest of the day. And then you have to deal with traffic and things of that nature. That can make the job more stressful than it has to be. Dealing with trailers that may not be loaded properly. Trailers that have you digging for cases. That can be very time consuming and very stressful. Dealing with customers that may be a little upset because you're running late and you know it's not your fault, and the customer may be upset with you and communicate in a way to make you feel like it's your fault, and that could trigger a negative response from you to the customer. In situations like that, you have to know how to hold your composure and respond in a professional manner, because it's all business at the end of the day, right? Obviously you don't want to be disrespected or anything like that, but you don't want situations to escalate because of things that aren't necessarily in your control. So you just got to have that emotional intelligence and be smart and think about what you say before you say it. But that's another conversation for another day. But that's food service. So this gentleman is in the food service industry. A lot of you guys watching the video right now, a lot of you guys that are subscribed to my channel, that are truck drivers, many of you are in the food service industry. So you know what this person may be going through. A lot of people don't last in this particular industry. The turnover rate is pretty high just due to the nature of the job. But it's not just food service. There are people watching this video who have different jobs and they're in different industries. Maybe you're in the industry where you're talking on the phones. Maybe it's customer service and you're sitting in a cubicle all day. Maybe you having to deal with sales, selling product or services, dealing with people trying to meet sales goals. All of these things can be very stressful environments to be in. And it could be jobs that can really have a negative impact on your mental health. And you may be making good money, like this food service driver. $100,000 a year, that's good money, at least in my opinion. But here's the thing, it's not always about the money. A lot of us stay at jobs solely due to the salary, solely due to the compensation, even if it means being miserable. And I would just say this, man, it's not always about the money. The compensation is just part of it. If you're working a job that you hate going to, as soon as you pull in the parking lot, you sit in your car for a few moments and just think to yourself, man, I really hate this job. I don't want to go into this workplace. Man, I can't wait till I leave this job, or I want to quit. I think when you get to a point to where you feel like that, it may be time to go. Just for the sake of your mental health, to put yourself in a situation that's more satisfying, a situation that makes you feel better about going to work. If the answer is working a job, the answer may be entrepreneurship and starting your own business. But I don't think it's healthy to go to a job that makes you miserable, because I think when you're miserable at work, the chances of you being miserable at home is significantly higher when you have a job that you hate, opposed to going to work at a job that you may not necessarily love, but you don't hate it. Like me, for example, I'm in food service doing what this gentleman is doing, but I don't hate my job. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I've been at jobs that I hated and I didn't last long. I left those jobs. And so I understand that I can't just have any job. I can't just work anywhere because they pay well, right? For me, it's got to make sense. I'll use my wife and I as an example, right? My wife, she works a job. She works for a company that's been recognized as one of the top 100 best companies to work for. She's been working for this company for over 15 years. She's in a leadership role, and she does well in terms of compensation, right? Between the two of us, we make over $200,000 a year as a household income. So we do well together. But we've had opportunities to change jobs and get higher paying jobs, right? Both of us, 6-figure salaries. But there's always a conversation before we commit to making these decisions. The conversation goes a little bit like this. Babe, I'm interested in doing this particular job. This is the shift and this is the compensation. What do you think about it? And oftentimes it'd be a shift where we wouldn't see each other. Basically, we would be passing each other. So she'll be getting off and I'll be going to work, and vice versa. And for us, we prioritize our relationship. We prioritize our marriage. So we know if we were to choose jobs where we wouldn't be able to see each other as much, and we wouldn't be able to be in bed with each other that much, at a certain point, that will get old. At a certain point, that's going to cause some conflict in our relationship that we can avoid by making the right decision and not pursuing these type of opportunities. We both believe that if it's right, it's right, and everything will align when it's the right opportunity, and we don't have to force anything. Again, when it comes to the compensation, we do well right now. So we're not in a position financially to where one of us or both of us need to just chase the almighty dollar and just find the highest paying job, right? We're not in that situation to where we have to do that. Of course, making more money is great. That's awesome. But it has to be the right opportunity for us. It has to make sense. So we just want to be smart about our decision making. We just don't want to create unnecessary problems for ourselves. Because when you're not seeing your partner, particularly if it's long term, it's just not sustainable in a relationship. There's got to be some type of compromising. There has to be some give and take. And overall, it just has to make sense for your particular situation. Like, I know my wife likes me to be there with her. My wife likes me to be in bed with her, right? She just get comfort from that. So do I. Maybe you don't have a partner. Maybe it's just you. But maybe you don't want to work a job where you have to work 12 hours a day. Maybe you don't want to work a job where you have to work overnight, right? Sometimes sacrifices have to be made in order to get to a certain place in life. But you really have to weigh the upside and the downside and figure out which one you want to prioritize. Which one is the most important thing for you? Is it the compensation? Are you willing to risk spending time with your loved ones or your partner or whatever the case may be to chase more money? Or are you willing to say, you know what, I'm gonna forego making more money right now to spend time with my loved ones? Those are the decisions that you have to make. And if you make the wrong decision, it's gonna backfire on you. And your loved ones is gonna let you know it. I posted a video recently where this person was talking about how he left his job where he said he was making decent money, but he left the job to make more money, thinking the grass was greener on the other side. And now he's in that job, and he said his life is miserable. He said he hates it. He said if he could go back, he would have stayed at the company that he was at. As a matter of fact, he said he said he's applied for that company that he was at, but he's been denied several times since then. So he's made attempts to try to go back to the company, but they've denied his application. And so now he's like, he don't know what he's gonna do. He said he's the breadwinner in his household. He's the only one working. His wife doesn't work. And he's just not in a good place right now. And so again, guys, when you're choosing a job, you really have to look at the big picture. You have to look at the entire situation, and it really has to be well thought out. Your decision has to be well thought out. You have to consider everything, not just the compensation. Just because the money is there, it doesn't mean it's going to be a good situation for you. So really think these things through. I really think mental health is just so important. And if you're miserable at work, that can trickle down to other aspects of your life. That can spill over into your relationships. That frustration can spill over into your behavior and your attitude and how you communicate with people. You ever heard the term bringing your work home? One thing that I try to do is not bring my work home. I think I do a pretty good job of that. Mainly because I'm not in a necessarily stressful situation at work. So I rarely talk about my job when I'm at home. And it's the same thing with my wife. She rarely talks about work when she's at home. Although she does sometimes, right? My wife is able to work remotely. So sometimes she go in the office and she's at work, right? But for the most part, she doesn't talk about her job at home. And I think that's what helps us keep the peace in our household. And so, you know, these are just things to think about, man, before committing to a particular job. You really have to look at the job for what it is. Put aside the compensation for a moment. Don't get blinded by the dollars, so you can make a rational, logical decision on whether or not it's the right decision to make. Sometimes when you're in these stressful situations, at your job and you're making good money, and you know the only reason that you're at that job is because of the money, sometimes it may be worth it to take a pay cut and get a job where you may not be making as much money, but your mental health is better, your relationships are better, you're happier, you feel better about yourself. I think that's a better trade-off. You can always make more money, but do you really want to be miserable making good money? I don't know. But that's all I got for you guys, man. Let me know what you think about this video, and until the next one, I'll see you guys later. Peace.